Thank you kindly for having me here. For those of you who don't know me, I have started NLP back in, oh God, I don't even want to say a long time. Back in 97, my friends. I started back in 97, and I studied with Ted James, and then I became a master trainer of NLP, and then a master trainer of hypnosis. That's also part of my expertise. Of course, in the process, I taught trainings with Ted, which was the creator of timeline therapy. And I taught with him trainings all the time for 21 years until, unfortunately, he passed away back in 2001. And I continued the lineage and in spreading the word about timeline therapy because I don't know if you already know or not, but there is, and I say this with all due respect to many other techniques that utilize the notion of timeline, but the set of techniques that are timeline therapy, there is no other comparison in the world. It's a very unique form of intervention because it's fast, painless, and gets rid of things like all negative emotions or limiting beliefs or limiting decisions, and also has a particular process of utilizing the timeline and inserting goals in the future timeline in a way that makes them happen. Aside from that, I became very passionate about the idea of values. When I learned values in my master practitioner, and as I said, that was a while ago, I just couldn't get rid of it because it made a massive difference, and it resolved a lot of questions that I had inside my mind as to why is it that some people think the way they do, some people behave the way they do, why some people achieve success, why some people don't, why some people seem to have all the time relationship problems, problems with their parents, problems with their families, and some people don't. Some people are very successful at work, some people are cheating, lying bastards, pardon my French, right? And some people are honest and they can operate in integrity, and so on and so forth. So the understanding of that was like a real light bulb in my mind. And for about 10 years, all I did was live, breathe, sleep, values. I couldn't watch a movie without noticing values. I couldn't talk to people without noticing values. Because everything we do, mark my words, everything we do, everything we're motivated to do or not to do, from very simple things, whether you like coffee or you like tea, whether you're a vegetarian or you're a meat eater, whether you are motivated to take an action in your business, or whether you are prefer to be safely employed in a corporation, whether you want to be married and have kids or not, everything is dependent on our values. And this is very little understanding in the world, because we tend to believe that there is such thing as right values and wrong values. And that's not true. Our values are different, and all of us have our individual values. Now, the problem is that some other person's values may be very different from yours. And so guess what? It's going to clash, because they are motivated by something and you're motivated by something else. Imagine how that's going to work in a relationship, for example. Well, it's not. Let me tell you. Absolutely it's not. But this issue with values just never left my head. I found it incredibly fascinating. It explained to me why countries go through difficulties. So we're starting from you, from an individual, and then from the family in which they're surrounded by, and then we're going what's happening in my community, whether you live in a smaller town or you live in a capital city, like you live in Timișoara or you live in Bucharest, right? Or you live in Bacău, or you live in, I don't know, in anything, you name it. That's very different. So the community values. I could never understand. I grew up in Timișoara, right? Because that's where I've been born and that's where I grew up. I left very soon when I was very young, but when I was going to Bucharest, I could sense the difference. It was a very big difference between how people thought in Timișoara. And I said, me, very righteous and judgmental at the time, oh, Timișoara is just a small provincial town. That's why people think differently. Well, it has nothing to do with that, by the way. It's simply there is a different type of community with a different type of thinking. And there are 7 or 8 different types of thinking around the world. Now, and so that eventually led me to write the book, Values and the Evolution of Consciousness. And by the way, I don't know what has gotten into me probably all these years, because I wrote a tome about 600 pages. It's pretty big. And I considered for a while to put 2 volumes out, but I said nobody's going to buy volume 2. So then I put it all in one book. But in the second part, I kind of, I put this in air quotes, yeah, so it's just in quotes. I put kind of like, where are we going from here? At the time I wrote the book, and I wrote the book in 2017. And I predicted, and it's not a prediction, once you understand values, you understand where the world is going. So I kind of started describing at that time, you know, what will happen with technology, what would happen with, you know, how our lives will become more and more digital, more living in a virtual reality, to the point that there could be some dangers of losing reality as it is. So I described that. So that was my passion. And if I was to chunk up, because you all understand hierarchy of ideas, chunking up and chunking down, yeah, going to abstract, what I'm motivated about, and it always drove me as my motivation, and now I'm giving you one of my values, right, in career, is I'm fascinated by the human mind and the fact that mind and body are interconnected. And if our values and our goals are aligned, and values support our goals and objectives in life, they come true easier. I mean, we still have to work and we have to take action to achieve them. However, if the values are not aligned with our goals, then we're in trouble, because then we have to struggle. And you may ask yourself, how does it work? Let me give you an example. It's a very simple example, and you can generalize, yeah? I'm gonna eat broccoli because it's good for me. I don't want to eat broccoli, but I want to eat broccoli. I hate broccoli, but I know it's good for me. And so I should eat broccoli. That's a goal that and an objective I will have, which is not aligned with my value, which is not broccoli, right? So this is just an example, but from here on you can generalize in all major areas of life. How I teach values in the Master Practitioner, I teach it from two different perspectives. One is the NLP perspective, and aside from the traditional elicitation of values, I have 2 more ways of eliciting values, which are TED's development. And also I teach, as I just mentioned before, at this point on the planet, there are 8 different types of thinking. And it's very easy for you to understand. People in the Middle East, for instance, where you have so much war and strife and, you know, religious and economic and all sorts of problems, are very different from how people think in Western Europe or in Australia or even in Romania, right? So there are different types of thinking, and that creates many clashes. I wish our leaders would understand values levels, because then, you know, they know how to approach the people inside what motivates them. Because if you're trying to motivate somebody with the wrong values, you're not going to succeed. So this is what drives me, this is what motivates me, and this is what makes me excited to be here and chat with you tonight. And Eugen, you mentioned that you wanted me to address the issue, what's the difference between values and beliefs? Is that correct?
Very much, yes.
Okay, so it's very simple. You remember, and maybe you still have it, and we have here, it's like in the kitchen, where we have our little espresso cups, coffee cups. They are on a tree like this with hooks. You know what I'm talking about? It's kind of a tree and you hook your cups, you put your cups there. All right, everybody knows what I mean by that? Yeah, good. So now imagine the hook and the whole support tree is the value. And hooked onto each value, there are a bunch of beliefs. That's the easiest way to understand. Each value has around it a bunch of beliefs. Now, this is more than just interesting and as a theory, because in terms of, working with a client or even doing things for yourself, if you work with values, you have far more leverage. Now, I don't know if you've been taught this way or if you're aware of this. If I'm repeating myself and it's something forgive me. But I want to mention one thing, that each value that we have is not, I can't say that there aren't values that are, first of all, conscious. Okay? I can't say that. However, most of our values operate at the unconscious level. Most of our values operate at the unconscious level. That's the problem. See, you go and, to work for a corporation, let's say. And when you go there, they say, okay, these are our mission statement and our values. And they hand you a list of the values. And you look at them and they sound pretty good. Yeah, look at them, yeah, cool, all good. But that's at the conscious level. The darn thing is that most of our values are unconscious. And unless we know how to bring them to the light of consciousness, we don't even know we have some values. People are always extremely surprised when we elicit values, and they learn how to elicit values. Especially, we elicit values also utilizing the motivation strategy, and the third way of eliciting value is what we call the threshold. And then people look and go, I didn't realize. Well, of course not. Because there are things that are out of the light of consciousness. When I say that, let me define that, so we're all on the same page. So we all have the rational, logical mind. We call that the conscious mind. Now, as I teach trainings, I also refer to the unconscious mind. And you being trained in hypnosis, you know that we work a lot with the unconscious mind. Now, the only problem that most hypnosis has is to make the conscious-unconscious integration. And I think it's in the, now you're going to put me on the spot, and it's somewhere in the collective works or Dr. Milton Erickson, but I have no idea on which one. He was, as a medical doctor, he was very careful in defining the unconscious mind. Yeah, because he was in the boundaries of the box of the medical establishment, right? But he said this much once, that many times I'm able to take away a phobia at the conscious level, and many times I take away the phobia at the unconscious level. One thing he could never do is make that conscious-unconscious integration, which is work consciously, so not in trance, absolutely awake, but work consciously with this part of us that we call the unconscious mind. And I'm fond of saying the unconscious mind is simply the intelligence of your body. It's the intelligence of your body, and I'm sorry to be so practical about it, but this is what pretty much is in the context of what we're discussing here. So I'm staying very clear in this context. Now, coming back to values then, most of our values are unconscious. Now, how do values form? Well, they form when we're very little, first of all. We roam around 3, 4, 5 years old, before we have a critical faculty, which happens only around the age of 7, as we know. We roam around like little sponges, right? And we absorb everything from our environment, including values that are apparent through our caretakers, whether your parents or you grew up with the grandparents or, and then close relatives, great-grandparents, uncles, aunties, cousins, friends. And so we begin to form our values, first of all, unconsciously. Now, whether we accept or reject our parents' values, we still form our own individual values. So that being said, I'm coming back to what I was saying before. Most of our values are unconscious. So, and it's not immediately apparent that each value itself has a component of what we call in NLP toward and away from. There are things that we move away from, we don't want. There are things that we want. But those could be inside the same value. Let me give you an example. Let's say that one of your values in career is making good money. Okay? Money. Good. Now, if you were to investigate, you can ask the question, why is money important to you in the context of your career? Values need to be very, very critically, narrowly contextualized, so you have to stay in the context. Why is money important to you in the context of your career? And you could say, well, because I want to buy a bigger house, because I want to have this great vacation, I don't know where, I want to go to New York, because I want to have my kids go to this private school, because these are all toward reasons. But you could say, because I don't want to be in debt anymore. Here we have a negation. That's an away from. I'm moving away from that. Because I'm moving away from poverty. I don't want to have this. I don't want my bank account to go down. I don't want, and that could be inside the same value. What's the problem then? You say, okay, fine. This is how people have values. Yeah, I agree. Here is what the problem is. The away from inside values, and Eugen, I don't think I've ever talked to you about this ever. No. So this is totally new. Yes. Yeah, and if they're away from, or some people have values that are totally away from. I don't want that, therefore I'm motivated. I don't want to be poor, so I'm motivated to make money. Now the word sounds great. Money, prosperity, great values. But hidden inside the value is, I don't want to be poor anymore. And some people have 100% away in values. Here is the problem. And I'll give you an example that you're going to laugh. Our great president, Donald Trump, right? When he was just a real estate mogul, before all his political career, years and years ago, yeah, he had an interview, I mean, it's a long time ago when he was still married to his first wife, Ivana. So that must have been years ago. And I saw on YouTube one of those old videos, right? And she said the following. They were both of them interviewed, and she said the following. Donald and I review daily what we've got because we know that at any time it can be taken away from us. Mm. Now, people go, yeah, ha, ha, ha. That's not my point. My point is that it's obviously an away from inside that value, isn't it?
For sure.
Here is the problem. People who are motivated away from, and by the way, motivation away from works. Absolutely. I'm not saying that it doesn't work. Oh my God, it works really great. When the wolf's at the door, you're motivated. Absolutely. Right? Here is the problem. Away from make performance that goes up and down like this. Up and down. And it's all these ups and downs. Because people who are motivated away from have to create crises in their lives in order to be motivated. This is how it works. So I'm moving away from poverty, okay? So here it is. I'm not making money and it's right in my face. I'm dealing with it right now. Now I'm motivated. I'm started making money. I'm starting earning. I'm starting doing better. Notice that there's a distance. I put more and more distance because I'm making money. So that thing that used to scare the crap out of me, no problem anymore. Okay? Now, the more distance it is, the more comfortable I feel, the more demotivated I am. So then I create another crisis, and then I'm motivated again. So the people who have away from in their values go bounce up and down like this. Now, the same values, we could let go of the away froms using timeline therapy and let go of all the away froms from the values, so you remain with the same values, this time towards, and towards provides consistent upwards motivation. You don't bounce like this, up and down, up and down, up and down. You don't have to go through crisis in life. That's the difference. So that was a major thing that, again, I understood because I had a lot of away froms in values, in my values. And I couldn't understand, why is this happening to me? I mean, like everybody who's not trained, right? That's one of the questions that people ask themselves.
Ne vedem mâine la masterclass-ul despre autohipnoză. Masterclass-ul în care înveți cum.
Yes.
That was a subliminal message. Somebody that happened right there. So I have a few. I have a few questions for you.
Okay. Sure.
But I mean, I would like to let you continue, and then I'll come in with the questions because I have a whole list I wrote down here.
Okay, my friend, go ahead with the questions, and I don't want to come in and lecture you guys.
Okay.
I think that's not why you're here. So I prefer to take your questions and answer the things that you are interested in.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let me ask you this, because you mentioned the values are away from and towards, and this weekend we just talked about meta programs. So can you touch a little bit on the similarities or any connections between meta programs and values? And
sure.
I mean, are values meta programs, or are meta programs, are they values? And how
no. It's very easy. Mm-hmm. If you bring to mind the diagram that we learn usually at the very beginning of any NLP practitioner, which, if it's the typical diagram then that was always in the NLP, traditional NLP trainings, it's the diagram of the head of a person. And so an experience happens, we receive it through our five senses. At least that's the diagram that we're using. Yeah. And so we receive it through the five senses, we delete, distort, generalize. There are millions and millions of bits of information. I've seen different statistics. It started with 11 million to 65 million bits of information that we are bombarded with every moment, right? And we delete, distort, and generalize to the very pitiful amount of 126 or so, right? And we organize those in chunks. Now, if that diagram is drawn correctly, aside from deletion, distorting, this deletion, let me see. Okay, so inside the head of that person, okay, I see how you do this. Okay, inside the head of this person that you see on the screen there, you see it's written valori, crezuri, which are beliefs, meta programs. Now, all of those are filters, are internal filter. We still filter the amount of information. And these are our internal filters. So values are filters, meta programs are filters, beliefs, attitudes, decisions, all of those are filters by which we decide what 126 bits we retrieve and what we cut out, which is the big majority, right? So so that's great. Good. So therefore, meta programs are filters as values are filters. There is a difference between them. Meta programs are content-free. Filters, values have content. That's the difference between them. Values have content. So when you ask somebody, for example, let me give you an example again, so you can understand exactly what I mean by that. So you ask somebody, what example can I give you? Okay, so do you remember a time when you were totally motivated in the context of your career? Yes, I do. All right. What was the last thing that had to happen That happened right before you got motivated. That's, by the way, the second way we elicit values. What's the last thing that has to happen? And they say, well, I got excited. And then you verify, is excitement important to you in the context of your career? And they go, yeah, sure, it's a value. Now, that's a content that represents already the content, and that value also has a picture associated with it. That's the thing. Because excitement as a kinesthetic, and forgive me if I go too specific here, but excitement as a kinesthetic, it's a feeling, right? Excitement is a feeling. But excitement is actually, as a feeling, is part of a VK synesthesia. Mm-hmm. So it has also a picture. It has a content inside it. Mm-hmm. So that's the difference between meta programs and values. That's actually easy. I see also, did I answer your question, by the way?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
I see also a question from Roxana in the chat. Cât de ușor poate trece o persoană de la motivarea
dinspre către.
I mean, away and towards, yeah?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Okay. Well, so let's think together. So what is the away from? Could be negative emotions, fear, anger, frustration, resentment, you name it. I don't want to have to deal with that person. I hate them. Or I'm resentful, or could be negative emotions. Then we do timeline therapy, let go of the negative emotions. And I wanna mention something about timeline therapy and letting go of negative emotions. Or it could be beliefs or decisions. Now, beliefs and decisions have also, part of timeline therapy, they have a particular process by which also we let those go and change them. So it's very easy, because in timeline therapy, once you understand how it works, it takes about 10 minutes per negative emotion. Now, I want to mention something here, which, by the way, makes the difference between timeline therapy and other techniques. Timeline therapy is not a kinesthetic interrupt. I mean, you need to know me. I appreciate everybody and everything that comes up with a technique that's useful for people. But I want to just, for your understanding, for instance, to make the difference between EFT and timeline therapy. EFT is a kinesthetic interrupt. You know it with the tapping? You tap and you interrupt the kinesthetic. That's the technique. It works. Yes. It stops the negative emotion. Yes, because it's a kinesthetic interrupt. It's a pattern interrupt, which we learn in NLP. But the negative emotions are still, that's the difference, my friends, and I want you to really pay attention to this. Negative emotions that we experience in life since you were born, and even before in your mother's womb, and they are negative emotions and beliefs and decisions transmitted genealogically through the family traditions, all of those are still left in the body. With timeline therapy, they disappear. I don't know if you understand, but each cell in your body retains all the memories of every experience you had in your entire life. Because memory is stored holographically. And this is not new. This is not in the modern neuroscience. This is known from the 50s with Roger Penfield's experiments. They drilled a hole in a woman's brain and to see if they can cure epilepsy. And what they discovered, that was one of the cases, and I don't remember where it is written. Now if you ask me which book it is, I don't remember right now. It's going to come. Anyway, that woman, having that part of her brain excited, remembered everything from a birthday party when she was 2 years old, the smell of the cake, the touch of her little dress, everything. And she never thought of that before. So my point being that everything you ever experienced is stored, and not only in your brain. The brain has 10-to-1 redundancy in terms of neuronal capacity. So you have 10 more neurons than the one that's being used in your brain. Heart, I believe, if I remember correctly, heart and liver have 6-to-1. Or maybe heart has more. Now, it depends, different organs in the body have less or more redundancy. However, each cell in your body and each organ in your body retains all the memories for every experience that you ever had in your entire life. One book, if you want to read about this, which is a landmark, and I saw even some interviews with him, he's still alive. I think it's Paul Pearsall, The Heart's Code, a landmark in the field. And he describes when, people have, they had transplants. And the receiver of an organ, major organ and transplant, started having cravings or retrieving memories from the donor. The organ itself retained the memories. So why am I saying this? Because then if you do simply a kinesthetic interrupt, the memories and the negative emotions are still present in the body. So there is no true healing. It's, oh, I feel better now. And many people don't care. Okay, as long as I feel better now, that's fine. I have a bit of a different opinion because negative emotions are all connected with disease. And that's a problem. Because when, there is a distinct connection between certain negative emotions and certain types of diseases. So that's a problem. But then timeline therapy, different from other techniques, allows those emotions to disappear. They're gone. They're not there anymore. There are a few studies. Actually, we had some students and some medical doctors that did some studies. I haven't been able to do yet the study on cortisol. I'd like to do the study on cortisol, which is the hormone of stress, before and after doing timeline therapy. But listen, I'm not a medical doctor. This is not a medical advice. Okay, so take it as information only. I got to put a disclaimer in, okay? Got to put a disclaimer in. However, I had clients and I had students that with timeline therapy healed miraculously things that shouldn't have not be healable. And that's all I can say. There you go.
Awesome. I wanted to ask you something because you did mention the idea of redundancy. So
yes.
Can you explain in layman's terms, what do you mean by 10-to-1 redundancy or 5-to-1 redundancy?
Well, there's 10 more neurons in the brain per same amount of space as it is, for instance, in your finger or at the back.
Okay.
Yeah, so the amount, the capacity of the brain, and also there is something else that means something very important. For a long time, we thought, and we've been told, that once something's damaged in the brain, that's it, kiss your know what, goodbye, and you're done. And that was wrong, because in the last couple or three years or so, even in the traditional medicine journals, has appeared clearly that it's called neuroplasticity, and the brain has the capacity to heal. Now, here is the metaphor for you. If I make a phone call from here, let's say to Miami, Florida, okay? It can go through the cable in the Atlantic, and it could go directly through the cable, Cape Town, to Miami, Florida. What if the line is damaged? Well, I could be rerouted either via satellite, or I could be rerouted through Johannesburg, and Johannesburg to Frankfurt, and from Frankfurt to New York, and from New York to Miami, Florida, and I would never know.
Yeah.
So that's exactly like this with the brain. If one thing is damaged, you've got 10 other possibilities to compensate for the same connection. I'm talking only about the connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the easiest way to think about it. I hope this makes sense.
Absolutely. So we have a question saying, does timeline change the type of motivation, which is contextual?
Say that again. Say that again. I heard only 2 words. I need to hear 3.
All right.
I'll
Does,
strangle you.
well, I'm reading what was written.
Okay, it's my friends. It's timeline therapy. Now let me explain to you
No, no,
why.
no. So the
Hold
question
on,
is,
Eugen. Stop just for a second. Let me explain to everybody to understand why.
yes, please. Yes.
So timeline. Timeline is a concept that has been used for thousands of years. I'm not kidding you. In ancient Greece, Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, they were talking about the notion of timeline, which means what? Some sort of a linear organization of our memories, so we know the difference between yesterday, 1 week ago, 1 year ago, 10 years ago, today, and tomorrow or 20 years from now. Right? So the idea of a timeline is not new and is not Ted's creation. Now, timeline therapy is a very specific body of several techniques. And so we always, to make that difference, we always refer to it as timeline therapy. Why? Because there are a lot of other techniques utilizing the timeline. Timeline this, timeline recovery, timeline empowerment, timeline. There are a lot, and none of those is timeline therapy. So that's why I'm so strict with this, because we want to know what we're talking about. Okay?
Excellent.
Thank you, Eugen.
Thank you. So, does timeline therapy change the type of motivation, which is contextual, it's a complex and very twisted question. So I'm trying.
Okay, just fire it, and I'll do my best. Yes.
Timeline schimbă tipul de motivare fix pe contextul pe contextul pe care se lucrează. Okay, so does timeline therapy change the motivation which is contextual, or does it change motivation in general? That's the question.
Well, usually we elicit values in our school. We have 6 major areas of life, which is career, family, relationships, personal growth and development, health and fitness, and spirituality. These are major areas of life. Now, each and every one of them has subsets, all right? So we elicit values in the 6 major areas of life, but also, if I do any healing work, which I do quite a lot with clients, also we could elicit the values in general in life. So what's important to you in your life? Right? Because it's not the same thing for everybody, by the way. So therefore, we always work in the context where the client has a problem. So if the presenting problem that somebody comes to me for coaching, right? And the presenting problem has to do with career, then I'm going to work contextually only for career. And then I'm going to do timeline therapy only in that context. If it's in health, then I'm going to do health. If it's relationships, then I'm going to do relationships. Because values are different depending on the contexts of life. In fact, if you have the same values in career as in the relationships, one of those is not going to work too well. I promise you. So we have different values. So therefore, I would do timeline therapy in the context where the client has a problem. If ain't broke, don't fix it, right? If the client doesn't have a problem in another area, I'm not going to mix myself there. Therefore, we're using timeline therapy right now. Could we use timeline therapy to let go of away froms, for instance, in the bigger context, which is values in someone's life? Yes, it works just the same way. Now, why does it work this way? Timeline therapy is a structural process, my friends. It's based on the structure of how, not why, not what, but how we store the memories. So it's a structural process. Therefore, a itty-bitty emotion, which is about this big, is just as easy to let go of as something gigantic, the most incredible drama or trauma that happens to you. There is no struggle. There is the same process because the structure of retaining those emotions inside our memories is the same. I hope this makes sense. I don't know. If it doesn't, ask me again.
No, that's good. That's good. All right. We have, and if it doesn't make sense for who asked the question, they can just ask for more questions.
Sure, please go ahead.
Yeah, we have another question. How can you erase a holographic memory of all the past generation through timeline therapy? And if you have such a example.
Sure, that's a very good question. So you have your timeline, okay? And the first thing we learn how to do in timeline therapy is to establish the root cause the very first time when a certain emotion or a certain belief or a certain limiting decision has happened. There always, no matter how far back you need to go, there always was a first time. Before that, you didn't have that emotion or that belief or that decision. Now, we have kind of a decision tree here, and that's we find out because it's different from person to person. And even for the same person, it may be different from one negative emotion to another. So the question we ask is, what was the root cause for this negative emotion? The very first event, which when disconnected will allow the whole chain of that negative emotion, the whole gestalt of the negative emotion to disappear as an issue out of your life. And then we have the decision tree. And we ask, was it before, during, or after your birth? That's a decision tree. And the client says, after, okay, then we find out what age, and usually it happens very early in life. If it was during, by the way, it can happen during pregnancy or even during birth. It's not unusual at all, or before. Now, if it was before birth, as I said, then we have another decision tree, another bifurcation. We have past lives or genealogical, not genetic, genealogical.
What's the difference?
Well, the belief was, and unfortunately it still is in the common belief in our society, is that, you know, if your parents suffered of blah, 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 whatever, that means you're going to get it too, which is transmission, genetic transmission.
Okay.
That's also wrong because the field of epigenetics, in one of the first exponents of this was Dr. Bruce Lipton in his book, The Biology of Belief. He said at that time, he said there is no more than 30% that you inherit genetically. Nowadays, epigenetics has proven that there is no more than 5% that you inherit genetically. Okay, then we're talking genealogical. Now, genealogical is simply transmitted from generation to generation. Let's see how that works so you understand. So how many people here have in your family some sort of a family myth? Like all the men in our family, all the women in our family, this and that and the other. Is it correct? Do you know what I'm talking about? Show me with your hand if you have one of those. Yeah, we all do, by the way. We all do. That's how easy it is. And I'll give you an example. When I was 3 years old, my eyesight was very good. And my mother called me and she said, well, you are going to have to wear glasses because everybody in our family wears glasses. And in that moment, as a good kid that I was, I took the decision that I need to wear glasses. And by age 4, I was wearing glasses already. That was a belief installed by the conversation I had with my mother through the genealogical tree. Now, let's talk about past lives. There are people who believe in past lives. There are people who don't. Yeah? Now, I can't prove or disprove this point. However, if past lives really exist, then we work with them. If past lives are simply a symbol or an archetype at the unconscious level, and the negative emotions disappear, we work with them. There was this psychologist lady, and she was funny actually. She was a behaviorist. She was a behavioral psychologist. And by the way, in behaviorists, don't believe that you have an unconscious mind. You just have a bunch of conditioned reflexes, okay? They just don't. And so she came for coaching, funny enough. And she says, and I was, because we were working together while Ted was alive, we were always doing work together. So she came and she went to him and went like this: Ted, I'm a psychologist and I'm a very rational person and I don't believe in that past life crap, so don't give me any. Absolutely, right? And we went through the whole process. And we said, well, before, during, or after your birth? She said, before. Then we said, past life or genealogical. And she started laughing and she says, you know what comes up? It comes up past lives. Okay. At least our unconscious mind has a sense of humor. So you see, it doesn't matter if the client believes consciously in past lives or not. At the unconscious level, we have all sorts of weird stuff going on, I tell you what. Because we adopt all sorts of beliefs and decisions, and before we talked about values. So we go back then to the very first event to continue to answer your question, and sorry to go around, the big building to answer your question. We go to the very first event, whenever that is, at the root cause, we find out what it is, and we need to be very precise, because it's different from person to person, and even for the same person, it's different depending on the emotion or the belief or the decision. And then we let it go. It's a specific process. We don't walk the timeline. We don't ever drag, because you know what's happening if you walk the timeline? You may have heard, about walking the timeline. And by the way, this is not a judgment. Everybody who does NLP or does anything to help people are doing a great job on the planet. I'm not judgmental, but I'm telling you the philosophical difference. If you walk the timeline, you drag your negative emotions throughout your whole timeline. That's the problem with walking the timeline. But if we float above the timeline, as we do in timeline therapy, it's a process of active imagination, by the way. And we always maintain, floating above the timeline. This is the timeline down here. And we imagine using, our imagination, floating above the timeline, and then it's a specific process. We let go of that first time, and every instance thereof in the timeline with the Gestalt, where we have the away froms or we have the genealogical thing, we let it go. Now, you may say, but how do I, if my unconscious mind tells me when I do timeline therapy, tells me that it's 17 generations ago. Well, you're connected with your genealogy. It's your bloodline. It's your family. So you're floating above your timeline, and then, you are connected to your mother, and then to her mother or father or whatever, which part of the family. That's very easy. You connect with the timelines of the people that existed before you, which are part of your bloodline, as I said. That's your family genealogy. So it's very easy to do timeline therapy, and we follow the same structural process. Sometimes people have interrupted, by letting go of the limiting beliefs, have interrupted patterns of that affected their health. Example, great-grandmother, great-great-mother, diabetic. Grandmother, diabetic. Daughter, perfect. No diabetes. What was the difference? Daughter learned timeline therapy and let go of the belief and other decisions that she had to have a problem with her pancreas. She never had trouble with insulin or anything. She watched her diet, of course, stuff herself with sugar from early till evening, obviously, right? But she never had trouble, not even, hypoglycemia or anything like this. So she interrupted the pattern. This is just an example. I can give you example after example after example. People break in family because it's what? It has to do a lot with the genealogical transmission.
I want to ask you something here. So
Go ahead.
when you do timeline therapy for such situations, for instance, basically you go through a set of questions for the client, right? So I don't want to go into the nitty-gritty of it, too much details, but basically you ask the client, so this problem of yours, is it from a genealogical or is it before birth or stuff like that, right?
Now, if you say this problem, that's too abstract, that's too big.
Yeah.
Each problem, now think of it. The client comes and says, blah, blah, this is my problem.
Yes.
Now, first, before we proceed to do anything, that's part of, what we call the breakthrough session. And it's how do you discover, my metaphor, Eugen and everybody else, my metaphor is think of a scaffolding next to a tall building, okay?
Yes.
So what do you have? You have all that, and if it's done properly, you have the green net on top of it so that tools and stuff doesn't fall onto the, pedestrians, okay? So it's one thing. Like the client who cares, this is my problem. But the scaffolding is not made in one piece. It has bars, it has bolts, it has, screws, and it has the metal things, it has the wooden planks, and all of that comes and it's put together. Same thing in the client's head. A problem is made out of bits and pieces, and we don't proceed with timeline therapy or any NLP technique, by the way, before we unravel how this scaffolding is being put together. What is present there and what could it be? Well, from the NLP perspective, could be some modalities, could be anchoring, could be strategies, could be parts, as in parts integration, right? From the timeline therapy perspective, could be all sorts of negative emotions, beliefs, decisions. And we elicit all of those through a series of questions, particular questions that we ask, to figure out how is this problem constructed. And by the way, by the time we're done, we have a list. The client has these negative emotions, A, B, C, D, and so on, has these limiting decisions, these parts, and so on. And then we proceed with what we call the intervention itself. Because if you say the problem itself, that's too big of a chunk. It's too abstract.
And I like the metaphor using that the problem, whatever X problem that is a construct basically made of several moving pieces. I remember I was watching Richard Bendler talking about depression at some point, and he said people make depression, don't have depression. Like they make it unconsciously, but they create it. They just don't know how they do it, but they are doing it themselves.
Well, the question in my head is always, what has to be present in the person's life that leads to them creating the emotion that we call depression, right? And in timeline therapy, by the way, just an FYI, we do the depression is based on sadness. So we do sadness first, and then we do depression as a secondary emotion, as well as and we do this also in manic depressive. We use this as well.
Okay, so we have a question here. Says, therefore, you can fix all kind of health issues using timeline therapy after you elicit value, belief, which are at the basis or the root of this?
Well, I'm not a healer. I'm not a healer. What I do, I work with the client's conscious and unconscious mind. And the client heals themselves based on the connection they have with and the trust they have in their unconscious mind. So think of it, what did I just say? Trust in their own unconscious mind. I'm not asking them to trust me. What I'm asking them actually is to trust themselves. And most people don't even know how to do that. So can I say that I assist the person to heal a lot of stuff? I am not a healer, I just said it. But somehow, based on the connection they have with their unconscious mind, miraculously the set of symptomology disappears. What can I say? I can give you an example. Let me give you a fun example, which is out there, really out there, okay? And again, If you have any medical issues, consult your licensed healthcare practitioner. Don't listen to anything I say. This is information only. All right? Let's make sure you all understand. So it's this, we were in California, and this medical doctor, and she's in Sydney, and she came to us. She had breast cancer. She had the nodule taken out. She had again breast cancer in the same place. It grew up again. She had the whole breast removed. Now she grew a tumor in the place where there was no breast. The third time. She's a medical doctor. Now, my friends, I don't know what to say, but of course, this is not a question you ask the client from the very beginning. You go through long rapport and lots of questions and, 2-3 hours into the coaching. But every single person that had a health issue, and we asked to remember the decision of creating that. This comes to your question, Eugen, yeah? In terms of how we create our own stuff. Everybody remembered. So we asked her.
What is the question you ask?
So when did you decide to create this? That's the question. When did you decide to create this? And she said, oh my God, I remember. I was a young resident and I was working in the oncology section. So the cancer section, right? And one of the, she named a hospital in Sydney in Australia. And she said there were many of my patients that were women that were abused. And I was in an abusive situation. And I said, here is the decision. Here is the decision. I envied them because they could die and I couldn't get out of my abusive relationship. That was the decision that led to, and Ted, I remember Ted was very brusque, by the way. I'm a little kinder. I'm still a Sagittarius, but I'm blunt. But I'm a little kinder, But he was very, very direct. And he looked at her congruently and he said, you're not very good at this. And she went, good at what? She said, this cancer of yours, because you know very well you're working in oncology, and you know very well that if you were good at it, you would be dead by now. That's a reframe, right? But it's also true.
Yeah.
Now, this woman, when she came, it's almost beyond belief, but it's up to you, believe me or not. I've seen it with my eyes. Okay? When she came, her tumor was about the size of a big walnut.
Yeah.
Okay? And usually when I see clients even today, I don't have time to do weekly coaching because my life's very crazy. So I don't have time for that. But we usually see clients, and even nowadays I follow the same process. I see them for 2 hours today, 2 hours tomorrow, and if the cleanup day after tomorrow. Okay, so we have 3 days back to back, depending on the issue, of course. So we didn't finish the first day. She came, we did part of the timeline therapy, but we weren't done yet. So she came the second day, and the second day, she showed us her tumor has shrunk at the size of a pea in 24 hours. Now, I've seen this in the training room during what we call the breakthrough session in timeline therapy. I've seen things. Now, have I done anything? I don't believe in that. I'm just a tour guide, my friends. I know certain things, yes, and I know how to guide the person's conscious and unconscious mind. That I know. And I know I'm good at it because I've seen the results. However, the results are always and without exception based on the capacity of the client to connect with their unconscious mind and trust their own intelligence of their body. That's what healing is about.
This is a very, very touchy subject for some people because
Sure.
Let me spotlight myself here. So you basically are telling the client, directly or hinting at this, that they should trust their body's intelligence. And I've encountered many people who did not trust themselves, and they made a confusion between trusting themselves and trusting their body's wisdom. So how
Eugen, this is common. This
know.
is
So how do you deal with that? That's the question.
very simple. You know what I asked them? How'd you sleep last night? Well, I slept good. Or not, or whatever they say, right? They say, who slept you while you were asleep? While your conscious mind was gone bye-bye, who slept you? Who digested all that junk food that you ate and the bowl of spaghetti that you had for dinner? Who beat your heart? Who circulated your lymph and your blood? Who breathed you during the night? Also, you trust your intelligence of the body enough to sleep for 7-8 hours every night. So what are you talking about?
Okay.
Right?
Awesome. Yes. Yes.
People don't know they trust themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they do, because they're alive.
Awesome. So we have another question here. It says, how, wait, hold on a second. So the question is,
Eugen, read it in Romanian. I think I can manage.
to read it in Romanian, you know.
For me, it's fun. Just read it in
trying to read it
Romanian.
in Romanian, and sometimes I have trouble with that as well. So that's why I'm like squinting to see what did the author mean here. So here's a question: how can you practically develop limiting beliefs through timeline therapy? Are they associated with emotions, or are they simply encoded information is encoded in memory that are connected to past experiences? So I'll say this again. How do you dissolve practically limiting beliefs by using timeline therapy? Are these beliefs associated with emotions, or are they just simply encoded memories, informations in the memory that are connected to past experiences?
I got it. So as you think of it, each negative emotion, let's talk about emotions first.
Yeah.
Each negative emotion is stored in what we call a gestalt. We use the word gestalt a little bit different from Fritz Perls, who came up with the term gestalt. Yeah. So simply in timeline therapy, a gestalt is a collection of memories on the same type with the same negative emotion chained together. So you can imagine a chain of pearls, okay? So pearl. This is the gestalt, and we have gestalts for anger, gestalts for fear, gestalts for anxiety, gestalts for sadness, and so on and so forth, okay? Now, the same process we use unconsciously to store limiting beliefs and limiting decisions. Same process. So there is a gestalt on which there is a belief, I'm not good enough, for instance. There is another gestalt that's called, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve to be happy. I don't deserve to have a great relationship, and so on and so forth, okay? So all of those are stored together following the same process. This is a process that unconscious mind does, using the timeline. First this happened, and then something similar, and then something similar, and then something similar, and puts them all in the same gestalt. So we follow the same process. We find out what's the root cause first, and then we do the whole process. We go back before the very first time. In timeline therapy, see, Ted wrote the book Timeline Therapy and the Basis of Personality, I think 86, 87, published it, I believe, in 88 or something like this. So it's been around for a while. And timeline therapy has developed since. If you read the book, he was going in and taking care of the memories that we remember. There are a lot of memories that we don't remember consciously, right? So ever since timeline therapy has developed tremendously, so we always in timeline therapy, always and without exception, let go of the whole gestalt. So not only this event where I remember I was angry and, you know, I yelled at somebody or whatever, I had a fight. No, that's just one event. No, we let go of the whole gestalt. Now, with limiting beliefs, because that's your question, limiting beliefs and limiting decision follow the same structure. Follow absolutely the same structure. So we need just to elicit from the client clearly what's the root cause, what's the very first event for that particular belief or decision, and then we follow the process and we let it go just as we do for negative emotions. Yeah, it works the same way. You have no idea, my friends, how easy it is to adopt beliefs that don't serve us.
I have such a strong belief in this. You have no idea.
Well, you do it all day long. I do it too. If we don't guard ourselves really well, the media is an expert in installing limiting beliefs in us.
Absolutely. So this begs
Yeah.
the question. This begs the question: how do you protect yourself from installing limiting or even
Oh, I love the
painful
question.
or junk beliefs?
I love the question. This
I
is a
know.
great question. And I'm talking here to a master in hypnosis.
Yes,
So
you do.
what do we use? We use suggestion. So you can say to your unconscious mind something like this. I always treat my unconscious mind with love and respect because I love and respect myself. So I address my own unconscious mind simply, dear unconscious mind. I kid you not. That's not a joke. You may say, oh, this is funny. No, that's not. I say, dear unconscious mind, you know the difference between those things that are good, positive, and healthy for me and those that aren't. From now on, you are to delete, remove, and reject automatically everything, every suggestion that comes onto me that's not for my highest good, for my health, for my well-being, and etc., etc. That's a suggestion. So do a hypnosis, suggest yourself this as a self-suggestion, install this in your unconscious mind, and the unconscious mind will do it automatically. Don't you love it? I knew you were going to love it because you love hypnosis.
Yeah,
Hey, we
absolutely.
apply what we learn, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love it very much because it goes hand in hand with what you were saying earlier about trusting your body's intelligence, trusting your unconscious mind, and
Right.
that is key right there. Because many people can say the exact same thing, and it's just lip service. They just say it mechanically, but they don't believe it. And if they don't believe it, they just talk into the wind, basically. So, but what I'm trying to point out here is that when you say that, you actually mean it. You do it for real. You're not just blabbering stuff out. You don't just do lip service. You're actually meaning every word, and and you count on your unconscious mind to do its job because you ask it to do so.
Sure, absolutely. I see a thing here which is very good in the chat. It says, clientul o să spună, nu am decis așa ceva, cum aș putea să decid să mă îmbolnăvesc? Right! Nobody would do this consciously.
So
when I was a kid, I was about 10, 12 years old. By the way, I'm not a unique case. I've been scolded really badly by my dad, really badly. And I was so depressed and I cried my eyes out. And I said, they'll miss me when I'm gone.
Wow. That's
how easy it is, my friends. That's how easy it is to take an unconscious decision. Lucky I'm still here. So I'm not gone. But that's how easy it is. Yes, yes, yes. You are totally correct. You don't take a decision like this consciously, obviously not. But at the unconscious level, I'm going to punish this person by being sick. You have no idea how often this is. This happens so much. If I get well, I won't get the attention that I get right now from my family.
So let me ask you this question then. So basically, I deduct from what you're saying. This is my own interpretation. Let me know if I'm right or wrong. Whenever you have this unconscious automatic decision, which turns into a value, is this associated?
Let's not get confused. No. Decisions do not necessarily turn into values.
No, not all of them. But what I'm getting.
Sometimes it's possible, yes.
Yeah, but so what I'm asking is this kind of situation when we take these decisions unconsciously, are they always accompanied by emotion or strong emotion?
Usually limiting decisions are accompanied by negative emotions, because that's why we feel them, they're limiting us.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If there would be happy decisions, we wouldn't have, any, we take positive decisions all day long, again, because we make decisions every single day. But the ones that we feel that are blocking us, they're limiting us, right? That they usually are accompanied by negative emotions. Yes, that's correct.
So then how can I do this by design for positive, beneficial values or beliefs that we want to have?
I'm not quite sure what you're asking. How do we do this by
if we
design?
if we unconsciously create, like, I'll show them, I will, they will meet me when I'm gone.
That's called secondary gain. Yes.
Right. Okay. So when your unconscious mind said, they will miss me when I'm gone, right? That's something, clicked in there, and you basically establish something that will happen with you in your life. Now, since we know that that's what happened, that's the mechanism, is there a way to hijack this mechanism and actually start to
Yes.
intentionally install positive values and beliefs? That's the question.
Yes. Yes. Having grown up in Romania, I can tell you that in general, and I'm making a broad generalization, my friend. This is a very, very broad generalization, okay? There are tons of exceptions to it. But in growing up in Romania, away from it, it was a way of life. If you don't do this, that bad thing will happen.
Yeah.
Okay, that was the usual way of thinking, and still is prevalent, because I got friends there. They're still prevalent. So then what's happening? So we need to come back to the basics. That means there is a person that has a habitual way of focusing on what they don't want, or focusing on all the bad things that could happen, okay? Because they think that that will keep them safe.
Yes.
Right? Now, first of all, that's a mistake in logic. That doesn't keep you safe. The awareness of your surroundings, the intelligence of noticing and learning everything that you maybe in the past haven't been conscious of, that keeps you safe. So it's a major difference between awareness and focusing on everything that can go wrong. You're a businessman, and probably in the audience we have people that are in business. What do you do in business when you set a goal? You consider what can go wrong, put in preventive measures, and then focus on what you want and how to make it happen. Right? You don't focus all day long. There is a difference between putting preventing measures in place and focusing on what you don't want. Now, there are people who don't know how to focus on what they want. Okay? So let's take a very simple example that many people deal with, at least in America or in Australia. Even here, not so much, funny enough. But in both the States and in Australia, we have lots of people that struggle with weight loss. It's like an epidemic of people that struggle with weight loss. And you ask a person like this, okay, so what's your goal? And they say, I don't want to be fat. Well, how can you formulate this so that is toward what you want? Well, I'm not fat anymore. Let's presuppose that I explained to them already what's towards and what's away from. They don't know how to even conceive of something that they could turn around. I don't want to be fat, and instead say, I am slim, or I am at my perfect weight. They don't know. They know because their habit, the neuronal pathways are entrenched to think in a certain way. Then what do? You step right back to the basics, my friends, and you begin to teach them how to create an internal representation, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, gustatory, and a good dose of positive AD, because only AD doesn't cut it. Has to be all of those toward what they want. So instead of, I don't want to be fat, okay, so now let's think, as you think of being slim, do you have a picture? Yes. Okay, is it black and white or color? You do the submodalities. You do all the sounds, you do the kinesthetic, and because you are installing a new habit, You are adding, if appropriate, also tastes and smells, if appropriate, right? And then a good dose of positive energy. And you give them a task. Because a habit is installed by what? By repetition. And you give them a task every single time. That's not the only thing you would do in weight loss. The values are massive in weight loss. Because weight loss has nothing to do with diet. I hope you all understand this by now, right? It's a lifestyle change. So, and values assist you to change a lifestyle. But as a task, there's a perfect task in coaching. Every single time they remain conscious about focusing on what they don't want, the specifics. You say, no, you run this movie. We made together this and make it in a movie. Huh? This internal representation, and run it through your head obsessively over and over and over and over and over and over again. They had years to focus on what they didn't want. That's a habit, it's automatic. Of course, Eugen and everybody, you can also do hypnosis, you can also, but you see, it's not magical. They have to do something. They have to do something themselves to change the way they think.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to throw I'll throw this at you, yeah? Just the monkey wrench, right in the middle. Do you understand that anxiety is a warning from the unconscious mind that you're not focusing on what you want?
Yeah.
You know why? Because anxiety is an emotion of the future. Mm-hmm. Anxiety is not an emotion from the past. All of you, think of something that you used to feel anxious about in the past. The event is done and over, but you used to feel anxious. Whatever that thing is done, finished, complete. Are you anxious about it? No, you're not.
Yeah.
Because anxiety is not an emotion from the past. Anxiety is an emotion from the future. Is anybody having anxiety here? Do you want to see how this works, by the way? This is cool. This is really cool. Eugen, you're going to love this. Is anybody having anxiety?
Just a
Come
little.
on. You can say it.
1 or 2 grams here and there.
All right, and nobody else. Everybody's a saint in this group. Oh, wow. You guys are... Nobody has anxiety. Come
Alina,
on.
Eugen, Alina a ridicat mâna.
Păi da, da.
Oh.
Cum îi zice?
Ăla eu nu, ăla eu nu, ăla eu nu.
I don't see. Let's see.
I have a question. 1 second. I have a few questions here.
Yeah, because I can show you how easy it is, by the way. You're going to love it.
Yes.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
N-are nimeni anxietate? Că vă dăm noi dacă vreți.
Alina a ridicat mâna.
Nu te vedeam.
Oh, Alina.
Alina.
Nu, păi, da, trebuia să dea acolo cu...
Okay, Alina.
Așa, hai. Gata.
So, do you have anxiety?
Yes, I have.
Do you want to let it go?
Yes.
Oh, good. All right. So, first of all, let me ask you something. Is it all right for, I know consciously you want to let it go, but is it all right for your unconscious mind to let go of anxiety and be aware of it consciously by the time we're done? Because it's going to be very fast, by the way.
I guess so.
Oh, no, that's not good enough. I'm sorry. It's either you or me. No. Is it okay or is it not?
It's okay. Is it okay?
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
What are you anxious about? Give me a specific event. Don't tell everything because everything is not specific. Give me a specific event.
Health.
What specifically? Health is not specific enough. Give me one specific little thing. Once you learn the technique, you can do it for all the rest. But give me one specific thing.
Eugen, îmi traduci tu, te rog?
Da, sigur.
No, that's his trouble, not yours.
Okay.
Don't get anxiety from Eugen. Let him have his.
Okay. Sorry. It's a little bit difficult with my
Zi în română.
Okay, say it in Romanian. I'm pretty good. I can understand. That's good.
Ok. Anxietatea este când mă simt rău, da? Când am un moment în care nu sunt foarte bine fizic,
Da.
și atunci apare anxietatea.
Okay. So do you foresee this happening in the future? Because, by the way, that's not specific either.
N-am înțeles foarte bine.
Când apare anxietatea, îți imaginezi că apare și în viitor, că nu e foarte specific ce ai spus tu.
Da, mă gândesc că ar putea să fie ceva mai greu, mai mult decât simt și decât trăiesc.
Sure, it could be your adrenal glands because you're stressed. So do you have a specific moment when your health goes down? So what has to happen? What's happening in your life that your health goes down? So what, are you working too hard? Are you stressed? Are you what?
Too much work. When I have to work too much, I became too stressed, and
Okay.
so
Okay, good. Okay.
I can control everything.
So when is the next time when you think you're going to work too much?
In a few months.
In a few months, like September, October, when?
October.
October, okay. And the period of working too much will be done when? End of October or when?
It begin in October and it finish I don't know when, because I'm starting new classes with in the same time with my job, with my family, with my all activities. So I guess it's gonna be a little bit stressful.
Okay, so can you feel the anxiety now as you think of that?
A little bit, yes.
Okay, so that
My
period
heart
of
is bam 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 bam.
perfect. So that period of time when you have to deal with your family, with your work, with all the new project that you're starting will end when?
In 2 years.
2 years, okay. So it's 2025 now, all right?
Yes.
And let's think of 2 years when? At the end of the year, December?
October 2027.
Okay, October 2027, okay. So it's now October 2027, all right?
Okay.
And can you think of listen to my words, successful completion of all this period of time where you accomplished everything and you haven't been sick?
Dacă să mă gândesc, Eugen, ajută-mă un pic, poate n-am înțeles bine, să mă gândesc
I'm
exact
gonna repeat, because the words are important.
okay.
So, let's do this together, okay? Imagine, you can imagine your timeline, right?
Yes.
Good, so if I was to ask you where is your past, which direction would you point? I'm looking this way because I'm looking at the screen.
Stânga,
Okay, and the future is where?
Dreapta, înclinat.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. Now, you can imagine it for the purpose of this process stretching out in a line, right?
Yes.
Good. And you can imagine that you're floating above that line. You can do that, right?
Yes.
Good. So here is what I want you to do. I want you to imagine you're floating above that line, okay? And you are floating out in the future at the end of October 2027.
Okay.
All right? So it's, okay, let's say beginning of November 2027. I want you to turn around in the air to imagine you're looking toward now, but you're after the successful completion of all that.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
All right.
Can you feel the anxiety?
No,
No.
it's not. It's not anymore.
Good. Float back above the timeline all the way back to now and make sure you float all the way down mentally in your body.
It's better. It's not anymore the feeling that I had.
Well, I wonder what happened. By the way, Alina, every single time you feel this, and this started all based on your questions, so I hope you all get something out of this little example, okay? Anxiety is a warning from your unconscious mind that you're not focusing on what you want.
Okay.
So you can contemplate, you have the right, you have the freedom, my friend, to contemplate in your mind things that could go wrong, or to contemplate in your mind the successful completion of everything you want to achieve. And you say, but how will I know that's going to turn out well, the way I want it? And I'm going to say, you don't. You know why? Because the future hasn't happened yet.
Correct.
But one thing I assure you, Alina, and that's you will be much better mentally, emotionally, and physically if you focus on the things that could go well rather than what could go wrong. Now, if you were to be my client, and you're not, yeah, this was just a little example, but if you were to be my client, I would also say, make sure that you, even if you're going to be busy, you organize your time and you organize your sleep and you organize your life even very much disciplined in order to deal with the amount of work that you know that will happen. So you have to make some provisions, and that's simply being wise and intelligent. You need to make some provisions to reorganize your life in a way that supports your health. And that has nothing to do with your focus. That has simply to do with what's called, how do I organize my life when I know I'm so busy? Mm-hmm. So that's very important. You have, and I'm addressing everybody here, you have two commodities in life, my friends. Only two: time and energy. And they are both in short supply. Use them wisely. Use them very wisely. That's just an advice from my heart for you, because yes, you can accomplish everything, Alina. You can accomplish everything and you can get this done. But you need to prioritize and be very disciplined with your life. You're not going to be healthy if you eat crap or you don't eat. You're not going to be healthy if you don't sleep in normal hour, in restful hours of sleep. If you organize your life in such a way that supports the extra effort that you need to make, you won't get sick. It's just as simple as that. And this all goes simply on top of what I just said. You don't know that things will go wrong. You will be much better, as I said, mentally, emotionally, and physically if you focus on how good it will be and how capable you will be to achieve everything you want to achieve. It's a major difference in state. You even said, that, of course, the tachycardia disappeared. Yeah, that's how it works. So you see, this is an example, everybody, on how we do things to ourselves. We are so used to focus on what could go wrong. It doesn't serve us. It doesn't serve anybody. It doesn't serve you. So thank you for volunteering, Alina. I really appreciate you. And I hope that...
Thank you very much for all the information. Thank you.
My absolute pleasure. All my love to you. Okay. All right.
Wonderful. Do we still have time for a couple questions, or?
I'm fine. If you guys have time,
Okay, awesome.
Yes, I'm okay. Yes, I can go. Yes, another 15 minutes.
Use a few more minutes of your time.
Sure.
So we have a question here, and thank you for this wonderful demonstration. Actually, let me take a question that is related to what just happened, and then I'll go to the next one. So the question here, we have the date that we are projecting towards, that we do future projection. Is that, does that date have to be specific, or can you define it like after you've been successful relating to the situation that has to do with anxiety?
No, first of all, there are two things that are very important. First of all, you have to be extremely specific. So if somebody says, but I got generalized anxiety, you go, okay, we do it one at a time. one specific instance. In general, people who are talking about generalized anxiety or I'm anxious about this big thing, they have trouble chunking down into specifics. You can't do the process for anything that's not specific. It won't succeed. So it has to be a very specific thing. That's why I asked many questions, okay?
It's almost as if you and I spoke before this session and I told you what to tell them.
Oh, really? because
I always tell them, if you're not specific, you're not going to get results. I tell them every single time. It's like specific, list your results. Otherwise,
well, there are two types of thinking, and this is part of the language section I teach in the master prac, right? There's inductive thinking, which goes from the box outside into wherever it takes you, and in deductive thinking, which takes you into specifics of the postulate or idea or thing that you are working on. Both are useful. I can't say that inductive is better than deductive or vice versa. But in this instance, specifically for anxiety process, you got to work only with very specific events. So you're absolutely right in this respect, Eugen. Absolutely correct. So, and no, guys, we didn't talk to each other before this session. It just happened to think likewise. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, you have to make sure that you are imagining the event completing successfully. So the successful completion. So you think of, okay, what would be the best case scenario which will make me really happy? Absolutely the best. Yeah, and that's the successful completion. And then you float above the timeline and go in the future. At least, I didn't have time to investigate exactly time, but it's at least 15 to 30 minutes after the successful completion of that event over which the client thought they were anxious. Mm-hmm. Turn around and look toward now. And if they truly imagine the event completing successfully, then the anxiety is not there. You can't do anxiety if you're focusing on what you want. Anxiety is a warning from the unconscious mind to focus on what you want.
Wonderful.
Right.
Awesome. All right. So the next question, 1 second. Momentito, por favor. So the next question, can we activate different programs that work against us, which are transmitted transgenerational? And how do these transgenerational programs get activated? Can we deactivate them?
I'm not sure what you mean, but activated.
Well, like you mentioned earlier, the difference between genetics and genealogy, right?
Right.
So I'm guessing that this is what the question is related to. So these programs, if they are transmitted, are they transmitted and they are latent inside of us, and then something happens and they activate inside of us? Or are they, when we are born, we already have them active, and how can we deactivate them?
Today is the day of specifics. So when you say the word program, that's too vague. I'm sorry. What is a program?
That's the question.
What is a program? Well, you have to unravel. You have to figure out. A program is the scaffolding.
Yeah, okay. So I guess we can think of program in terms of problem. Like, do we have X problem? And if that's genealogically transmitted, is that latent inside of us and we're just carrying it until an event happened in our lives and then that gets activated? And that's a question. And another question is, if it's already within us and it's already active because we inherited, how do we deactivate it?
Timeline therapy.
Okay, fine enough.
So I gave you a big picture, okay?
Yeah, of course.
So you call it a program. A program is like my metaphor with the scaffolding. A program can have what? Submodalities, it can have bad anchoring, can have strategies as part of it, values and beliefs for sure, decisions and attitudes, meta programs, all of that could be in what you call a program.
Totally.
Okay, so first of all, you need to unravel what is that program made of. Once you discover and you understand how the client creates that program that they're running, okay, then you take it one by one. If you have strategy, you know what? In terms of strategies and values, you have far more leverage if you work with values. I don't work with strategies. Could you take a strategy out and install another one? Sure, you could. Absolutely, you could do whatever you want. There's so many modalities. But in my opinion, there is no such thing as a strategy that's not useful. Did you know you have, for instance, not you, one. I'm not pointing at any of you, you know, a universal you, okay? Did you know that, for instance, the chronic back pain is a strategy? And if so, here is something that will just, you know, make your brain go, you know, smoke come out of your ear. How do you remember to do back pain every day? Oh, but my doctor said, and I got the x-ray, and blah, 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 blah. Well, I got news for you. You're running a program. You're running a strategy to remember to have pain every day. Because we have a chronic pain paradigm. And I think, Eugen, I remember, was it that we talked together about this once? About chronic pain paradigm is part of the timeline therapy. People with 25 years of chronic pain on pills, morphine patches, and so on and so forth die in 25 minutes. That's how long it takes me to do a demo, right? It disappears because it's a program, it's a strategy. Now, is the strategy wrong? And you say, of course, it creates chronic pain. No, it's just applied in the wrong context. Because we can have the same strategy and move it from pain into remembering every day to have a good laughter. The strategy is the same. So, I'm sorry, I'm going all the time. I can't just give you a yes or no answer because I'm telling you how I think, yeah? And how I teach this. Then in terms of the program, we figure out what is the program. We take apart the scaffolding. And then we do for each of the negative emotions, because that's plenty, by the way, if there is something that the client faces as an obstacle and runs a program of self-sabotage, for instance. Self-sabotage, because somebody said, you know, we in a saboteur singur, so I read here. And so that's self-sabotage, okay? Which, by the way, it's like a coin. On one hand, it's fear of success, and the other one is fear of failure. And that works like this. So then what is that? That's timeline therapy limiting decision process. And we get rid of that, right? So you can't say, okay, I'm having this big problem or this big program, and I'm going to apply this technique. It's not an it. You need to understand before you do anything. You need to understand how on earth is this person doing this? How are they doing this in their heads? And what I do, probably, Eugen, you do this also. I don't know, I'm asking here, but what I do, when the client presents a presenting problem to me, I take it and put on me like a hat. And I go, if I have the same set of circumstances, like this person here, would I have the same problem?
Yeah, I actually, what I do, I have a mental movie. And as they talk, I play the movie in my head, and I ask them to teach me to have their problem so I can see how it feels from my own perspective.
Okay, so you put it on you that way, you know. Yeah. I don't do that, but it's kind of the same idea leading to the same result, of course, because if you don't understand, see, could you do timeline therapy for something generic? Yes. Could you get rid of something and make the client feel better? Yes. But if you don't understand every bit of that scaffolding and you start too early and take a piece out of it, you may not have access to the rest.
Yeah.
You may not have access. The client may say, I feel good, it's fine, I don't, sayonara, out the door, right? But everything else that's there, it's still there.
Yeah.
Because I didn't ask enough questions to figure out, and that's called taking a specific detailed personal history. There's a set of questions. You can use the questions from an NLP practitioner if you've taken an NLP practitioner, which has keys to an achievable outcome. Those are pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can use those. And you need to understand how is he doing this? How are they doing this in their heads? How are they doing their depression? What has to be present? Because it's something that sucks in their lives. Because nobody's depressed if everything's happy around them. So you need to figure out what on earth is going on. No, there is no chemical imbalance, and I'm not a medical doctor, so don't listen to a word I'm saying.
All right. So we had a question here related, but I forget now what was the context. But the question was, so does this happen generally speaking, or is it contextual? The suggestion towards the unconscious mind. So when we,
I think it's about the unconscious mind. You know the difference between those things that are good for me. Yeah, am I
Dialogul, sorry, este despre dialogul cu mintea subconștientă când îi dau sugestiile pentru cel mai înalt.
No, that's in general. That's generalized. That's all the suggestions that, because listen, it's the intelligence of your body. Your body and the intelligence of your body understands intrinsically what is good for you, what's not. By the way, your unconscious mind wants desperately to let go of the negative emotions because they're not healthy for you. Listen, and I'm not allowed to say this, although it's not official, in the Journal of the American Medical Association, in the beginning of the 90s, they knew that anger is associated with heart and pancreas issues. They knew that depression, sadness actually leads to depression and diminishes the function of the immune system. This is allopathic medicine. So now you remove all of that. Guess what's going to happen to the immune system? It's free. All of a sudden it's free because it doesn't have all that weight. And there are so many modalities. I mean, hypnosis is, again, a wonderful modality. I mean, there's so many modalities. I'm describing timeline therapy because, as I said, it constitutes that conscious-unconscious integration. So back to your question, when we give that suggestion, self-suggestion, yes, that's general. The unconscious mind, you know the difference between those things that are good, positive, healthy for me and those that aren't. From now on, you are to accept only those things and delete, remove, reject all the others. And it's pretty much it.
Amen.
Thank you.
Yes, Father, forgive me
Hallelujah.
for
Hallowed be thy name, some questions.
Oh, boy.
Awesome.
This
All
is
right.
fun.
So we have so you work with each piece, with each component of the scaffolding, as you called it.
Yes.
You work with each piece of that thing separately to basically demount it or de-escalate it. And yeah.
Yes. Yes, but my rule is I don't proceed with, and this is what I teach as well, I don't proceed with any intervention before I really understand each and every piece of how do they do it, what's present.
So
I approach it with the technique that's related to that particular issue.
Yeah. So what are the absolute must-haves in terms of digging for information? Like, what are the absolute must-have, pieces of information that you ask for, that you look for before you actually start applying anything with a client?
What are the must-haves?
Yeah, like what is like you basically.
Well, I get to.
Comes in and they tell you they have a problem, and then you ask some questions to get more clarity.
But
right?
I want to understand their model of the world.
Right.
I want to understand their model of the world because I need to operate within the client's model of the world. I'm not buying into it.
Yeah.
But I operate within their model of the world because otherwise I'm coming like I'm, a completely different world from his. So I need to understand their model of the world, and in the process, just by the process of asking the questions, I see. Here is what I do when I'm old-fashioned. I still write, okay, with the pen and the pencil, and the paper. So I have my paper like this, okay. I draw a line, and then here I take notes.
Yes.
The client talks, and I take notes. I take copious notes. And so as I write down, I put kind of a little box here. Like I hear a negative emotion, here is a box. I hear a limiting decision, here is a box. I hear another limiting decision, here is a box. And I end up with a chain of boxes like this. And then I start, I do the intervention specifically, and then I start ticking, and I end up with all of them ticked, and then I know I'm done. Otherwise, I wouldn't know I'm done. Yeah, and then I never tell the client that we're done, by the way. I never do. And this is just my take on it. I ask the client, do you think we're done? Because I don't want to convince the client. I play the doubting Thomas. Are you sure we're done? Oh, check again. Let's verify again. Because it's no point. Listen, in my belief as a trainer and as a coach, it doesn't matter what I believe.
Yeah.
It matters what they believe. And if they're
But
convinced,
you should tell me, because you're the specialist. That's why I came to you. You should tell me if we're done or not.
No. With the first thing we talk, no. That doesn't work for me. Because the first thing we discuss is the issue of cause and effect.
Okay.
I don't take clients, the ones that are victims, by the way.
Oh,
Because
all right. Okay, let's talk about this one, because this is so juicy right here. So
Absolutely.
how do you identify victims, and how do you tell them to fuck off?
Well, listen, there is a lot of people that from all of your perspective, there are a lot of people that need your help.
Yeah.
You don't need clients. You need clients who will get results. So if a client comes to me and say, do it to me, do your magic, I go, really? What do you think I am? Go to God and pray to God to do it to you. I'm not God. I go, what do you mean? So the first thing we discuss, and sometimes you need to kind of, be strong with certain people, but in general, we have a very good thing. So the first issue, my friends, is cause and effect. Now, what is cause and effect? As we see it, because you need to, I always explain what do I mean by that, okay? So you understand, if you understand from the NLP perspective, that diagram that I said, so let's say there are only 11 million bits of information that come onto you every second. And you can process out of those only 126. Okay? What's 126 out of 11 million? Nothing.
Yes.
An absolute nothing. Now, how do you select the 126? It's based on, as I said, your life experience, which is what? Your beliefs, your decisions, your attitudes, your internal filters, your values, beliefs, meta programs, and so on and so forth. Okay? So far, so good?
Yes.
Good. So you cannot select and experience anything outside of you. Hang on to your chairs now. That is not you.
Huh?
You are the creator of everything that you experience in your life. You can't experience anything outside you that's not you. So, the things that you love the most in that person is you. The things that you hate the most, I got bad news for you. It's you. Think of that diagram, NLP explains it correctly. You select the 126 bits based on you. You don't select your 126 bits based on me or based on anybody else, on your mother, your husband, your spouse, your brother, and so on, or your boss. And you cannot see anything outside you that's not you. I went straight with you guys, but when I teach it in the training, I take a longer time. Okay, so you know. But also, so people get pretty quickly, so I can't blame anybody. They go like this, so I can't blame anybody because they are my projection. So I see in them only what's me, and I go, yeah. And then they make the following mistake. They get this, by the way, my students get this pretty quickly, but then they make the following mistake. They turn it toward them. That means I must be a bum because look what I'm creating in my life. Usually they have a drama or they have a situation that's bad, okay? By the way, that's still not good. Because this has nothing to do with blame. This has nothing to do with being judgmental. It has to do with understanding consciousness, right? Understanding, because if I take the position of being at cause for everything I experience in my life, then I have the power to change that. If everything I experience is done by others, my dad did to me, my mother did to me, the economy, the politicians, the this, the that, they are doing it to me, what can you do about that? Zero, nada, zilch. You are a complete victim, and you can complain until the cows come home. That's an American expression, which means forever. And you're still going to be a victim. Now, sure, you can be a victim if you want to. I mean, it's not up to me to tell one how to live their lives. I don't care, to be really honest, because I believe in freedom of choice. But if I have a client and they really want to heal something or change something massive in their lives, yeah, I would ask them to change and pretend that everything they experience in their lives is their own making. And then we can do something about it. Then we can change it. See, it's impossible to be empowered if you give your power to somebody else. If you say, they did it to me, and by the way, in America, this is the best country in the world for being the effect, being victims. What do Americans do? Blame everything and everybody else and sue everybody for as much money as they can get. It's a way of life, right? Everybody sues everybody else. And everybody's at the effect of everybody else. And here you have a problem. And Eugen, you are correct to delve a little bit. This is a long topic, by the way, because many people, not everybody, and I know you, my friend Eugen, for a long time, and I know you're not one of those, because I already know you. We talked a lot in time.
Yeah.
But many people don't want to take responsibility. They prefer to be perpetual victims, but then they have no power. Then what's left? What can a person like this do? They can manipulate, they can cheat, lie, pretend, ask for attention, etc., etc. But what kind of a life is that? What kind of a life is that? Seriously. I don't know. I'm saying this just simply as a right discrimination. I have my way of thinking about it. If a person chooses to be a victim, go right ahead. But if I spot that, and I spot secondary gain, and this is the direct answer to your question, is I would say, I'm sorry, but I don't think you and I will get any results, so I'll recommend it to somebody else. And then I call the Timeline Therapy Association, recommend them to one of my graduates.
Somebody you dislike profoundly.
No. No, it doesn't mean that maybe a person has a convincer, like a convincer meta program. Yeah. Maybe they have to hear it many times. Maybe they heard it once from me, maybe they see the second person, maybe the third person, the convincer is 3. Who knows? I mean, there's maybe so many reasons why a person cannot hear me, but it hears somebody else. But in terms of me, my integrity, and that's me, and my values, yes? I don't want to charge anybody and not get results. That's number one. Number two, I don't want to show the client another way why they remain a victim. I want to, if I work with a client, we'll get results. And I promise you, we always get results, because otherwise I don't get paid. And I like to work for free, okay? If nothing else, at least I'm a practical person.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, and that, by the way, my friends, if you start looking around, if you look at the real successful people in the world, that's their way of thinking. And don't get confused between marketing and the real people. That's a completely different thing. People asked me just yesterday, somebody asked me, what do you think about Elon Musk now with the fight with Trump? And I go, I don't know who Elon Musk is. Oh, sure you do. No, I see their media, I see his media theater and the whole thing. I don't know who he is. I don't know who Trump is. I know he boasts out this and that and flip-flops all the time, which is, by the way, values level 5, typical. But I don't know, we don't know who these people are. That's the marketing. So that's another story. So if you start really thinking correctly and cause and effect, now you're going to ask me, prove to me that cause and effect is the way you say, like the way I explained to you. I can't. It's a mind game. It's a mindset. That's all there is. It's a mindset. And I can tell you something. First of all, if you choose to be at cause, you create results. If you choose to be at the effect, you're a victim. You don't have results. You have complaints.
And even in the word itself, it's a mindset.
Yeah.
A mind construct.
Yes.
Right?
So you take a decision.
It's predefined, or you can construct your own set, so you can have whatever you want with your correct mindset.
Yes, absolutely. It's a mindset. You choose to adopt that type of thinking. Now, I'm not the first one to tell you this. You want to go spirituality, go look at Buddhist teachings. Same thing. You want to talk business, go read Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. They all talk about the same thing. Ancient Hawaiian Huna, which, it's one of my things because I'm the head of a lineage and I teach this, right?
Yes.
Same thing. First thing is cause and effect. Looking in the Western esoteric, everywhere. It's not said in this way, but in order to achieve results, you must assume this mindset. Exactly as you said, Eugen, mindset. You have a choice. Even when you're at the effect, you still make a choice. You choose to be at the effect.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Carl Jung, which is not traditional NLP, but I'm a big fan of Carl Jung, and I teach a little bit just in just a frame, just one frame, that's it. But he talks about perceptions projection, which links to cause and effect, which means whatever you perceive coming from the external world is your projection. If I remember correctly, the quote from Carl Jung, you marry your unconscious mind. No, he said, we marry our unconscious mind and project onto her all our unresolved issues. That's cause and effect, isn't it?
Yeah.
Totally. So there are ways of thinking that are more empowering and make you feel good. And paradoxically, here is the thing. Well, I just want to close a little bit the loop about the anxiety, because it's one more important thing I'd like to share with you all.
Yes.
Which is, as I said, you don't know if the future is going to go one way or another. And I said, but definitely you're going to feel much better, and your behavior will be different. Your physical, mental, and emotional state will be much more different. And now that we have touched a little bit on cause and effect and perceptions projection, you know what? You have much better chances of making it the way you want it if you focus on that. Because if you focus on what you don't want, you are going to create that just as well. And then you're going to say, see, I was right. Sure, you're right. Whether you focus on what you want or you don't want, based on your beliefs, you're always right. You could not be right.
Yeah. Whether you believe you're wrong or right, you're always right.
Correct. Yeah. So there you have it.
Awesome.
I have weird thinking, my friends. I'm not like everybody else. So if I spooked you out, forgive me, okay?
No. I was counting on your spookness, and you did you delivered, so that's totally fine. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Very kind of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here with us today, and I'm very grateful again for your presence and for sharing your wonderful knowledge and wisdom with us. And I would like to ask you, because I always tell all of our students, I say, you've learned with us different methods, different techniques, different trainings, but I always advise them to go and learn more, go and learn from other teachers, other trainers, other schools, not just us.
Very wise advice.
Yeah. So I would like for you to share a little bit, what you do, the trainings you have, and hopefully some of the students can also connect with you, maybe want to come over and learn with you. Or if we can do it online somehow, that'll be fantastic as well.
We teach the trainings in 3 levels, so NLP practitioner, master practitioner, and trainers training. But when I say NLP practitioner, we teach all 4 modalities, which are NLP, timeline therapy, hypnosis, and NLP, what we call NLP coaching, which is the direct, strict business application of NLP. And we teach that as a practitioner level, and we teach that as a master practitioner level. And then we have the NLP trainers training, where we call it the NLP trainers training because you end up, a certified trainer. However, I don't teach any NLP. It's just presentation skills. Mm-hmm. It's just how to present, literally how to present magically, how to get all the room and how to have that charisma that some people seem to have natural and some people don't. So that's all about presentation skills. Then I teach hypnosis trainers training, where you become a trainer of hypnosis. And also I teach we have a master trainer program where NLP trainers, ours and from other schools, can come and join. This is a developmental program where there are bi-weekly meetings where there are presentations which branch out how to construct a successful NLP business, how to, for instance, use the AI nowadays, how to develop and understand the prompting. And by the way, if you know NLP, prompting is not an issue. It's the easiest thing in the world, right? And so on and so forth. How to do as many topics as you can imagine, because our graduates come from different backgrounds. And so everybody learns because there are people from all over the world. And that's a developmental program, and that's 3 years. It's just regular meetings, Zoom conferences, and things like this. Aside from that, I'm teaching separately and not having to do anything with NLP. I'm teaching what we call the Accelerated Personal Evolution Program, which is by invitation only. And one of the criteria has to be that people understand and they know timeline therapy at the master practitioner level. That's a must in order to be even accepted. And it's a very reduced number of people. It's 10 people. But virtually, we delve into, as I said, magic. Now, magic has been misused in so many ways. So let me define magic, okay? So you all understand. So in this training, the word magic simply means having the power to create to change reality around you with the power of your mind. I say these words advisedly. Yes, the magic is, the real magic is the power to change your reality around you with the power of your mind. And we branch into, I teach the ancient Hawaiian Huna, all the initiations that are from Huna are in that training, all the, and there are the Western, from the Western occult systems, other initiations that are there, and then that's in 4 levels. So that's pretty much my life of trainings. And aside from that, I do interviews and I do a lot of stuff online, and keeps me busy.
Yeah, no kidding, huh? Wonderful. And do you have any programs that people can access or purchase online that they can get access to or stuff like that?
Sure. Actually, the timeline therapy trainers training is digital. So it's just a fresh recording that I did 2 years ago. Was it last? No, it was last year. It was last year, yes. So it's a fresh recording updated to the very last minute. Also, the coaching trainers training, where I teach people how to teach values, it's also digital. And I switched on. I do all the trainings actually on Zoom and online, because I couldn't manage to deal with people. After COVID, things have changed. People have learned that they can take any training and be comfortable from their homes, right? So they don't want to travel, they don't want to incur hotel costs, and I learned very quickly last year that I still had trainings live, and people said, okay, out of, let's say, 80 people, 30 will be live and 50 will be online. I said, okay, 30, it's fine. Still, we can, hire a location and do this. And eventually only 10 showed up live because the others changed their mind. And I said, you know what? It's much more comfortable to do everything online. People are home, everybody's comfortable, it's easy. So I do everything online, including the trainer's training, including the master practitioner and everything. One exception, the Accelerated Personal Evolution Program is live. That's not online.
So basically people who are, who'd like to pursue this further with you, they could basically get on a website and
you can find me at nlpcoaching.com, yes. You can find me at nlpcoaching.com. Also, you can find me, my YouTube channel is Dr. Adriana James. Of course, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, on LinkedIn, but to be really honest, if I can be really honest, I don't ever read those. I have people that do this. I don't. I am so against, you cannot believe it, for many reasons, including the fact that it messes up with your brain, and I love my brain. Thank you very much. Such as it is, I still love my brain. So yeah, so you can find me the easiest way. And by the way, you can find me online. You can, if you wanna, at our website. If you send an email at info@nlpcoaching.com directly and you say CC Adriana James, then that email gets forwarded directly to me. If it's a particular question that you have, I'm always happy to help. And then we can establish a time and we can communicate directly, or otherwise, I'm looking forward, and I invite you gladly, if you ever wanna take one of my trainings, I'm looking forward to meet you. And Eugen, I'm really looking forward to meet you.
Yeah, actually, I was talking with Angela. Maybe we will make it down to South Africa next year. We'll see.
Oh boy, that would be cool.
Yeah, I'm planning on it. So let's see how we can make it happen.
You know what? Here is the thing. When you say South Africa, people go, "Oh my God, it's dangerous." Listen, Cape Town, South Africa is not the same everywhere. So this is the Western province with the southern tip of Africa. And I didn't find any difference between a US city or a Sydney, Australia city and here. It's the same level of life.
Yeah.
It's absolutely the same level of life. It's just nothing different. Now, if you go in the north or northeastern part of South Africa, yes, there are tribal, even in Johannesburg, there are tribal problems, there are unemployment problems, there are people who revolt, and there's more problems. But here,
yeah,
it's really nice. You would enjoy it. Plus, I live in the French wine area.
Yeah, Angela will be very happy.
It's called the wine lands. These are the best wines. This is where the wines from South Africa come from.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so we are booked already. That'll be fantastic.
Looking forward to meet you guys, and looking forward to meet you. And thank you again for your kind invitation for today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Adriana. It's been a joy and a pleasure and a blessing as always. So thank you so much for taking the time, you and Bogdan as well. I know you guys are very busy with schedules, but I love that we can always connect, and God bless the internet and Zoom that we can do this.
Right.
Yeah.
See, there are good parts to the technology too.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Hey, so, very soon we're going to have, that chip in our heads, and we talked,
Exactly.
Zip.
Yeah.
All my best to all of you guys. Thank you for being here. It's been a pleasure. Alina, thank you again for volunteering, and all my love and all my best to you.